From legendary off-roading machines to supercars costing $150,000 and above, today we're going over the top 10 worst selling Japanese cars here in America. And just to keep things fair, I'm not going to be counting vehicles that were discontinued within 2020, like the Lexus GS, like the Acura RLX, nor will I be counting leftover models. Heck, even the Lexus LFA and the Honda CRZ sold new models in 2020. So here we are, on to number 10. We have the Lexus LS 500. It's not a cheap car, nor are the majority of the vehicles on this top 10 list. So base price of the LS 500, the Lexus sedan flagship, comes in at $76,000. And looking at the yearly sales, sedans, at least in the luxury segment especially, have really just plummeted. There's really no more room at the top for high-level sedans. It really seems like you have the Mercedes S-Class, then everything else is just miles behind it at this point in time in terms of sales. And there has been talk recently that Lexus could be turning the LS into a crossover like the LF1 Limitless. Currently, Lexus Enthusiast has an article and a good discussion in the comments talking about how Lexus could transition the LS into a crossover. And I even made an entire video this past year on why the LX has just tanked. And for them to have a successful flagship to replace the LS, I just don't see it in a sedan. There's no V8 anymore. There's no compelling electrified option. The hybrid in it is a complete joke. So if Lexus wants to have the LS succeed as a global product, it does need to be a crossover, sadly, in today's day and age. And kind of like the recent rumors like the Toyota Crown could be coming a crossover. So it could be happening like the LS. So you guys have seen on the screen, it only sold 3,600 units or so in 2020. Not good. It's not going to get any better, even with the refresh that just happened. The refresh added an ugly touchscreen and changed the looks, which I think the looks don't look as good as the 2018 through 2020 models. So yeah, I could get all hyped up on the LS. I'm going to be done talking about it. I'll see you down below on that one. And it's a good one to start this top 10 worst selling list on. Next one is going to hit us near and dear, the Land Cruiser being canceled. Now, I did say I wasn't going to include canceled models. Well, the 2021 model year will still be on sale here in the 2021 calendar year. No 2022 model will be coming in the redesigned J300 series. This Land Cruiser sold 3,147 units last year, and it is a worse selling model than the more expensive Lexus LX, which is very, very similar. And this is very expensive as well, even more expensive than the base price of the LS, coming in at $85,665. And looking at the units of the Land Cruiser here, it's actually been fairly steady around 3,000 to 35,000 units, somewhere in there in the past decade and a half. The Lexus counterpart, the LX 570, does outsell it. And sadly, here in America, we're not going to be getting the J300. As a Toyota, it will have the LX 600 coming as the J300. It might be the only version we get. And it is possible that the J300 based LX could have an off-roading variant. Lexus has teased recently that there will be body-on-frame off-roading specialty vehicles in the lineup in the coming years, kind of to take the place of the Land Cruiser. There are people speculating out there that the Land Cruiser could return in a couple of years, but I just don't see it happening here in America. And the funny thing is that sales here in 2021 are likely going to be pretty darn high, possibly over 4,000 units, because people are snapping these up knowing that this is the last model year of the Land Cruiser here in the United States. Maybe I'll do a top 10 next year and to see how the Land Cruiser does. Coming in at number 8 on the list is Infiniti Q60 Coupe. Gorgeous car, compelling powertrains, but Infiniti as a whole just isn't doing so hot as of late. When they had the redesign in 2017, we saw a good amount of units moved, over 10,000 units, and it's just plummeted since then. There hasn't been a whole lot of incentive for customers to latch on ever since that redesign in 2017. So selling just 2,792 units, a Q60. It could do worse. I don't see it doing a whole lot better. And I have been mentioning Infiniti a lot lately on the channel. QX55 was just detailed, very expensive. as a CVT. Not a big fan of that transmission. And the QX60 redesign will be coming later this year, but it might be too late. And Infiniti doesn't have any units of the QX60 to sell between like March and September. There's just going to be zero inventory of their best-selling vehicle, which is a complete fail. So yeah, Infiniti not doing so well. There might be more Infinitis on this list to next year. And the next model, or I should say models on the list, kind of come as a tie. We have the Subaru BRZ and the Toyota 86. Now the 86 sold 2,476 units and the BRZ sold 2,267 units. I'm kind of lumping them together here on the list because they're really just the same car. Now, if you add their sales together, they would be out of the top 10, but yeah, I got to throw them in there. There is a redesign coming in this year. As you guys know, larger engine, 2.4 liter F24A, I believe, is the engine designation. It'll have a good addition of about 20 or so horsepower over the previous model. And I do expect these sales numbers to go up, not only with the BRZ, but also the 86. Now, we haven't even seen the 86 unveiled yet. Like I said, it will be interesting to see how these numbers change with the redesign happening within this calendar year. And we're going to go on to the next one on the list, which most of you probably hasn't even entered your head, but this is a Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid. It's like one of the best-selling plug-in hybrids in Europe, but it's just a really, really poor-selling vehicle here on the list. And outside of the BRZ and the 86, it's the cheapest option here on the list. It sold 1,964 units in 2020 with a base price of $36,295. And its best-selling year was in 2018, and it's been just a downward slide since then. There is hope for it though, and the reason is the 2021 model did get updated powertrain from the European model with a larger internal combustion engine, a larger battery pack. So that should help with sales because it is going to be a little bit more usable, especially with a few more miles of plug-in electric range and a little bit more horsepower to boot. The non-plug-in hybrid Outlander was debuted yesterday at the time of this filming. It's a really good looking vehicle. I think it'll do well for them, but the plug-in hybrid, don't expect the sales to take off anytime soon, even with the updated internals in it. Next up on the list is a very expensive one, the Lexus LC500 Coupe, one of the most gorgeous cars available for sale on the market. This only sold 1,324 units last year with a base price at $93,050. They added the sale of the convertible this year, which I don't think is going to help sales a whole lot going forward. I think you're going to have roughly a 50-50 split sales between the convertible and the coupe. And if I were getting this car, which I would love to one day feature it on the channel, I would be getting the convertible just so the V8 noises are a little bit closer to my ears. And the irony is that it actually sold more in 2020, the pandemic year, than it did in 2019. In 2017, it was unveiled and available at the same time as the 5th generation Lexus LS, which was the first car on this list today. The LS just got a refresh, and the LC, we haven't seen a refresh on it. You would think we would be getting a refresh for the 2022 model year. We're into the top 3, coming in at the 3rd worst selling vehicle for Japanese cars here in the United States is the Toyota Mirai. Fuel cell vehicle. Not only was it really expensive, coming in with a base price of, let's just round up to $59,000. Where can you find fuel cell stations outside of one, I think, in Hawaii and a bunch in California, mostly Southern California? So yeah, it's completely irrelevant for most of us in America. Now, they did the redesign. This isn't the vehicle that was sold in the 2020 calendar year, except for December. This is the 2nd generation you're looking at. But the frumpy, ugly one that was slower, less range than this, that also cost more than this car, the 2nd generation, but the 1st generation was more costly, slower, uglier, outdated in comparison. It's no surprise that it didn't sell well. It only sold 499 units, and yes, I expect the sales to go up on this car, but not by a whole lot. They're saying that they're increasing production on the Mirai massively with this 2nd generation, but since the infrastructure really isn't taking off, I don't see the allure to this vehicle increasing at all. So maybe it gets back to 1,000 units here in 2021 for the redesigned car. Yeah, things aren't looking good for fuel cell at this point in time. The development of it and the infrastructure is just developing excruciatingly slow. And we're going to go on to the 2nd worst car on the list. It's It's also the second most expensive car on the list. This is the Nissan GT-R. It is really old at this point in time. It only sold 304 units last year and has a base price of $113,590. And looking at the yearly sales, it was introduced way back in the late 2000s. And the sales, yeah, really have dropped off, especially since 2014. And the price of the car has increased exponentially as well since then. I want to say when it came out, it was around 80 grand, and it just torched almost everything on the market. Well, the car hasn't changed a whole lot since then. I know it's got some power boosts, you know, software updates, things like that, but it's really the same car. And here we are in 2020 with the worst selling year in its existence here in the United States. Don't know if that's going to get any better in 2021. And it is possible in this calendar year we could see Nissan unveil a next generation model, but who knows when it's going to hit. And coming in at number 1 on the list is another supercar, the Acura NSX, retailing for a base price of $157,500. It sold 128 units last year. Not good. And it's really kind of sad to see, because the NSX was such an icon of my childhood. I grew up wanting to have the first generation so bad, with the T-tops, the manual transmission, and the new one is definitely fast, 0 to 60 in around 3 seconds, 570 horsepower or so. It's fast, it's a hybrid, it's sophisticated, it's technological. It doesn't feel as much as a spiritual successor to the original NSX as it could have been. And a little treat to end the list for you guys. To get to the top 10, I had to sift through a bunch of poorly selling cars. So here is the full list for the top 27 worst selling Japanese cars in the United States. But really every single brand was represented in the worst selling list here. Let me know if anything is standing out to you. Of course, the worst selling models on the list were by and large really expensive, not counting the BRZ and the 8.6. They're just kind of a niche product at this point in time. But guys, I'll leave it there. Let me know if you have any questions. If you made this far in the video, smash the like button. Subscribe as well. We're so close to 100,000. In fact, by the time you're watching this, it's possible that we could be at 100,000, or really close, within 100 subscribers or so. Guys, I'll leave it there. I'll see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves, and peace out.